the 7th round of the Formula Holden Australian Drivers' Championship. Well, Christian Murchison is desperate for points. Let's go trackside and catch up with him now.
Well, Christian, this is a very serious race for you. Obviously, the championship could be decided here if things do go wrong, but are you thinking of that right now?
At the moment, I suppose I'm going to go out there and try my best and try and do the best race I can. I mean, obviously the championship is now starting to slip away, and I mean, realistically, we're going to try and have Simon to have a problem to really become in good contention for the final round. But I mean, I'm just going to try and not worry about it too much and just try and race my own race and see what happens.
Well, good luck to you.
Thanks very much.
Well, if it's any sort of consolation, he is at least in line for the rookie honours. Simon Wills and Tim Lay on the front row in this one. Murchison, Halliday, row 2. Dumbrell and Andy Booth on the 3rd row of the grid. Dale Breed also on row 4. There's Steve Owen alongside Ian Peters. Roger Oakeshott, a good performance from his team. They have repaired the sportsman entry, and he'll be ready to contest this race. There is the man hoping to wrap up his 2nd Gold Star crown, our Winton winner, Tim Lay. What can he do in race 2 here at Oran Park? Away we go. And again, Wills gets a brilliant start. Lay trying to stay with him. A better start from Tim Lay this time around, but Lay is forced to tuck into 2nd place. Look at Christian Murchison storming off the line. He hangs on to 3rd place. Lay shuts the door. Halliday trying to come with him for the ride as well. Well, Brenton Ramsey, what about that for a start?
Yeah, it's a pretty good start for Christian Murchison. Obviously, we've got 2 guys here battling for the championship, Wills and Murchison, but in between them, we've got Lay and Halliday just going for the outright win. So an interesting dynamic here for this race.
You finished 2nd in the Tasman Cup last year. You're no stranger to pressure situations like this in terms of a championship. I mean, what happens now as far as both Wills and Murchison are concerned? I mean, what game do they play here?
Oh, it's an interesting mind game that's going on between these guys. They know they've got to finish, and the other guys know they've got to finish too. So Lay won't be afraid to apply pressure here.
Murchison sitting in 3rd. And our leader, Simon Wills, also the championship leader. There is Steve Owen, former Formula Ford competitor, runner-up last season, and has been a real standout in this championship since he made his debut a couple of rounds ago. Great effort in Canberra from him. And Murchison has been the real talking point of this season so far. I mean, a lot of people are asking, where does a guy like Christian Murchison go after this season in Formula Holden?
Well, that's right. You look at some of the champions we've had in Formula Holden in the form of Jason Bright and Scott Dixon. These guys are now in Indy Lights, and they're setting the pace in Indy Lights. So, I mean, there's options everywhere, and Formula Holden is really taking on some international significance.
A lot of talk around the pits this weekend about Murchison as we see this good battle going on.
That's Andy Booth, actually, in the Avnet entry, and great backing from Avnet, who've actually got their home base in Phoenix, a big company that's got behind Andy here, and great to see them on board.
A change of machinery for Andy as well. We've been used to seeing him in another Formula Holden this year, but he's now back behind a Rolt.
Yeah, he's back with the Rolt Challenge team.
Oh, and he's in all sorts of bother there, coming off the dog leg.
That's Dumbrell having a go at him, so it's very dicey through there.
Dumbrell sticking to his guns. In fact, that was off the bridge area. Now they work towards the dog leg. So Dumbrell in the Kmart Racing Reynard moves up 1 spot on Andy Booth.
He's charging through the field now, Paul Dumbrell, and now Leroy Stevenson applying pressure on Booth.
Now, what if Booth has got some sort of problem here? No, he's hanging on to it. So at the end of the front straight, perhaps just acclimatising himself to the Rolt.
Well, he hasn't had much time in this car, actually, with the team change, as you mentioned. So Andy, actually, I spoke to him yesterday, and he said that he likes the traditional H-pattern gear change on the Rolt car, as opposed to the sequential in the car that he was driving before. And that was surprising, but he said that he liked it. And these 3 are having good battle now. Andy Booth, Leroy Stevenson and Dale Breed.
Can't speak highly enough of Dale's performance this weekend in the Asander entry. He's really just kept a level head, has had a rotten season so far, a lot of incidents and accidents, but has just done the right thing this weekend and played it very consistently.
Yeah, Dale's doing well. It's good to see. Simon Wills, though, obviously he's bolted now and he's way out in front. And now these 3 are forming a pack, Tim Lay, Murchison, and that looks like actually a back mark they've come across.
We talked about Tim Lay teaming up with Gary Rogers Motorsport for the upcoming endurance events in a V8 supercar. Simon Wills will do the same, hooking up with Craig Baird in the Pertec Ford, and will partner him at the Queensland 500. Here's Steve Owen.
Yeah, Steve, another young guy who's come through Formula Ford and now doing his stuff in Formula Holden and doing it really well.
Doing an exceptional job, in fact. Has dropped off a little bit in terms of the battle to Dale Breed. Breed having a lunge there at Leroy Stevenson in front of us. In fact, has gotten around him there. You can just see him out the corner of your shot. So the Asander driver has moved up a spot for NRC Racing. Stevenson trying to fight all the way with him as we work towards the bridge. And the Barana driver's got a good run out of there, but the inside line will be Breed's. But no, he has to tuck back in behind him.
That's very nerve-wracking stuff over the top of the bridge there. You know that if you put a wheel wrong out here, you're going to end up in the dirt, and it's going to turn very nasty. And look at Murchison now, having a look up the inside of Lay. He's going for it.
So Lay, in all sorts of bother, under a lot of pressure from Christian Murchison, the second of the NRC racing entry. Look at this, yeah, Murchison got some real horsepower as they came up onto the front straight. Really good traction, lined him up and shot past.
I wonder if Tim's got some sort of problem, because that looks like more than just a simple difference in horsepower. Let's see what happens.
He had such a good run in the Boost Prepaid Mobiles entry at the last round at Winton, Tim Lay.
That's put Murchison up to second now, so the championship contenders are running 1-2 at this stage.
Arthur Abrahams, the owner and team boss of NRC Racing, would be loving this. He's had such a good year with Murchison, hasn't he?
Oh, it's been a fantastic year for NRC. They know they had their work cut out, and I saw Christian before this race, and he was completely focused about getting this championship and basically giving it everything for this particular race.
Talk us around the circuit. You raced here last year. I mean, what sort of G-forces and speeds are they pulling at this part of the circuit, for example?
This part of the circuit now, it's 200 kilometres an hour plus, back to 100 kilometres an hour here, 2.5 lateral G as they straighten up here right out to the wall, and it's important actually to keep off the marbles around this track. Very high downforce, so you've got a lot of rear wing on, and the trick is to try and set the car up so that it's not too pointy over that dog leg, that you might lose the car in the dirt. But you see Tim is not running a mid-plane in his rear wing there, a little bit of a different configuration to some of the other cars, and that's Matty Halliday.
He's in real trouble here, Tim Lay.
Yep. Slow. That's another disappointment for Tim.
That's a real shame. Halliday has gone through. Now Dumbrell goes through as well. And the young Orange driver...
Tim works pretty hard at his family motor business in Orange. He'll be pretty disappointed with that, but he's got a V8 ride to look forward to, so it's not all bad news for Tim.
Yeah, a shame, and a shame for the Kevin Murphy Racing team. They have had a few things this year that have crept in that are very uncharacteristic. Out in front, though, Simon Wills continues to lead the way. Next season, we're going to see a bit of a change too, something we should talk about. Yokohama tyres coming on. They're going to be the control tyre for the 2001 season.
Yeah, big change for Formula Holden as far as tyres. A 3-year deal that Formula Holden have done now with Yokohama, and Alan Bradshaw coming on board with Yokohama, and a 3-year contract should be great news, and we'll see what happens in testing soon with trying those new tyres. And Murchison now still putting pressure on Wills.
Certainly is, but the gap, I think, is just too big at the moment. There you can see out the corner of your screen, Wills heading over the bridge.
Oh, and look at that car bouncing over those bumps.
I think it just shows, too, how hard Murchison is trying in terms of trying to stay in touch with the championship and staying in touch with Simon Wills. Here's third place. Halliday. Gee, he too's been a standout this year, hasn't he?
Oh, there's a whole group of young drivers now who are in Formula Holden and are really pushing the envelope this year. And these guys, I mean, around this track, they're driving 10 tenths, every tenth of every second of every lap. There's no time to look out the window and wave as you go by in these cars. Checkered
flag at the ready. Simon Wills will take out round 7 of the Holden Australian Drivers' Championship. Christian Murchison gets home second, but what a wonderful result for the Barana Racing team. Wills home first, Leroy Stevenson in the second of the cars, home in 6th position. Let's go trackside. Grant Denyer is with Simon Wills.
Simon Wills, you're almost unbeatable.
Yeah, almost, but unfortunately not quite. You know, it's going to be pretty tough going into this last round, but because Christian's always pushing, I just have to make sure the car's going to hang in, and also with myself, I've got to hang in too. So yeah, it's just going to be interesting, but I've got a fair bit of weight off my shoulders now, so I can't wait.
You have been here in this situation before, but what would it take for Christian Murchison to take a title off you?
Well, I was thinking a lot when I was out there in the race. I'm just like, oh, well, I've got a bit of a lead here, so I can just have a think about a couple of things. And I think it will mean that Christian has to win one of the races and get a second, and I'd have to DNF both for him to take out the title. So things are looking pretty good for me, but you never know in motorsport.
No, you don't. 40 points up for grabs at the next round of the championship in Adelaide, but there's 30 points separating both Wills and Murchison at the moment. The good news for Murcho is that the young 19-year-old from Western Australia has wrapped up the Rookie of the Year honours. A great effort.